my good friend Allison Nazarian, and she is one of the most fabulous entrepreneurs that I know. She's been in business how long?
Since 2001. It'll be 11 years next year, right? 11 years next year.
So we wanted to chat. We wanted to chat with her a little bit about how she started her business and just give you guys some little tips and tricks. So what made you want to start your business?
I actually never considered going out on my own. I always envisioned myself when I was growing up and when I was in college, I envisioned myself working for a company and getting a paycheck and having this organized, logical progression where everything was just kind of set out for me. And then in 2001, actually a week before September 11, 2001, I got laid off from my job. And the job I had at the time was like, I thought it was the best job I would ever have. And I was just devastated. And I kind of like lost myself for a couple weeks and wallowed in my self-pity, and then one day I was like, I'm just going to do it myself, and I just started doing the thing that I was doing on my own. And it didn't look anything then like it looks now, but something in me kind of clicked, and at least I had that initial get up and go to do it.
And I was just going to say, I know a lot of people, when they get into business, they think it's going to be one thing, and then years down the line, or maybe even just months down the line, it's completely different than what they thought it was going to end up being.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I often tell people, or just think to myself, I'm kind of glad I didn't really know I didn't really have any expectations. I just figured I'm going to do this on my own. I never knew what it would look like or what it was like, and like I said, it's almost like parenthood. Like, I'm glad I didn't know that much about it before I did it. So, you know, every day is kind of different, and everyone's experience is definitely different. So I kind of just coasted, if that's the right word. I've kind of just like seat of my pants instead.
Mm-hmm. So for somebody watching right now who's in a maybe similar position, who is interested in starting a business, what advice would you give them?
Read the book, The E-Myth, which talks a lot about working in your business versus working on your business. And there's an example in there about a woman who made these amazing pies and went into business in a pie making business, and it was completely different than her experience making the pies when she was the head of the pie business. So just, I think, arm yourself with knowledge and talk to people. And when I started 11 years ago, there was no social media. There was email, but it wasn't the primary means of communication. So nowadays I think people can really connect and link up better and get the information they need. And ultimately, even if you're pursuing your passion or if you're helping other people, ultimately a business does exist to make money. And especially women, I think sometimes we're kind of afraid of that, or we don't want to admit that, or we don't want to think about that. And I think it's important to remember that, because you know, if you're running a nonprofit and money's not an issue, that's a different story. But if you're going into business to at least in part pay your bills, that's important.
Oh yeah, so it is.
Don't lose sight of that.
And I find a lot of women, I've met a lot of women over the years, that they do have a problem talking about money, or when somebody asks them how much their product or service is, they kind of shy away from it. They don't want to talk about that money piece of it, which, like you just said, it's important. You're in business, hopefully, obviously, because you're passionate about what you do, but at the same time, you're there to make a living.
Absolutely, and it's true. You know, don't apologize for your prices. Don't apologize for charging someone in the first place. In the beginning, I was very quick to give discounts a lot of times, even if somebody hadn't asked for it, and I've gotten better about that. So the more upfront you can kind of know what those boundaries are for yourself and know what you're willing to give and not give, the less you'll probably like blurt out things that you'll then regret, you know, for a long time to come in some cases.
What was your biggest challenge so far in your business?
My biggest challenge? In the beginning, it was certainly sort of making sure people knew I was like a serious business, which nowadays I don't care as much if people think that, but especially working from home, which I basically did from the beginning, except for about 2 years in the middle there. Especially back then, not working at home was kind of like still a little bit of a novelty for people. So they think, oh, you know, get out of your pajamas and give me a call. And I'm like, you know, I hated that. So I think that was a challenge for me, not just showing other people, but kind of getting over that for myself, like not having to prove that and just focusing on my work and my clients and not worrying what they thought I was wearing or where they thought I was working or whatever. But kind of just, I think the personality of my business as it morphed or as it changed over the years with my own personality, that's been something that I think you always need to keep up with and kind of monitor.
Awesome. Well, I've known you for many
Long
years.
time.
Yes, a very long time. And something new that you recently did is write this awesome, fabulous book called Love Your Mess. And what woman doesn't need to hear that? We have to love our mess.
That's
and
right.
all the psychotic things that we do every day. But tell us about your book.
This is a book about loving your mess. It's about doing the things that you want to do and having the dreams you want to dream and going for it despite all of the messy things. You know, not saying I'm going to wait till I lose the weight or till I quit smoking or till I figure out this relationship or leave this job. It's about knowing that things are always going to be up in the air and messy and going for all the other things anyway, not waiting and not hiding and not pretending, just being who you are and unapologetically loving yourself despite all of that and because of all of that.
And you are very passionate about helping women write their own stories.
Yes.
And share their stories.
Yes. That's actually something that I was talking about, how your business sort of transforms over the years with your personality. I started very like corporate and left-brained and serious writing for corporations and businesses, and I still do a lot of that, but I also do this where I help women write their individual stories. Sometimes businesses too, putting together their story in more of a marketing kind of way, but yeah, I mean, that's something every single woman, every single person has a story, even and especially those who think that they don't. And that really is something that I'm passionate about, just, you know, the everyday stories. You know, we're not all, you know, Jennifer Aniston or Angelina Jolie or whatever.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Right, some of us look like that. But the stories that are just amazing and wonderful, and every person has them.
And I love that so much because I feel like so many times, especially entrepreneurs, when you're working just for yourself in your home, like you said, sometimes in your pajamas, and you're just behind your computer and you're not realizing that other people are going through these same things, and you're thinking these thoughts and you're like, I'm crazy, I'm a crazy person.
Right.
When somebody else, when you read their book or their story, you're like, oh my gosh, that is totally how I feel, and you feel a little bit more sane about your
I'm not
your mess.
alone. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. When someone tells me, God, I feel like you were in my head when you wrote that, like, to me, that's like the best thing I could ever hear in my life. So
That's awesome.
yes.
So if you want to learn more about Love Your Mess or learn more about Allison, you can go to...
You can go to loveyourmess.com or AllisonN.com. That's ALLISONN.com.
Awesome. And thank you so much for
you.
sharing your information. And to find out, Allison's going to share with us 4 simple steps to love your mess. So check it out at speakingofsavvy.com, or you can click on the link right below.